The next Legendary Hero Summoning event is here and will last from May 30th to June 7th for most time zones. I'm not sure if they're extending the length of all these banners, but this one and the last one have been slightly longer than their older iterations. That means a couple more days to grab more orbs for yourself. Before we start talking about this event, I'm going to explain what makes this banner different for any new players out there. Normal banners have a focus rate of 3% and usually only include 3 to 4 units. The Legendary Hero Summoning events offer a starting focus rate of 8%, include a cast of 12 strong or rare units, and the non-focus rate is set to 0%, meaning if you get a 5-star unit, it will always be one of these 12 heroes. What this means is that these are really good banners for newer players to score powerful new units. If you always summon a full round of 5 summons, then you will have a better chance of getting 5-star units. The catch is that with 12 heroes split among 3 for each color, the chances of you getting one specific hero is actually quite low. You won't have to worry about pulling pity breakers, but you may end up getting the same unit multiple times when you wanted someone else in that color category. Overall, these banners are best enjoyed if you want any unit in a specific color. In this video, I'm going to be talking about all 12 heroes and showcase what skills each one has to offer in the event you pull someone you don't want to use, or maybe you want to decide what color is worth rolling on the most. But first, let's talk about our new legendary hero. Everyone's favorite Lobster Lord is finally getting an ult, and this version of Ryoma is going to be a flying sword unit. Ryoma follows Hineka's lead and is riding a Kinshi bird into battle while still wielding his powerful Raigento blade. Pretty fitting that Ryoma is a water elemental hero, and it looks like his bonus will be a +4 defense since that is the same icon as legendary Ephraim. Instead of using Fjorm for her speed boost, players can now choose Ryoma in their teams if they want some extra bulk instead. As for his outfit, Ryoma is pretty much wearing the same jacket as he normally does, but he traded out his armored shoulder pads for some flatter feather ones, and these are pretty identical to Hineka's shoulder pads. Both of them also have that back equipment that all Kinshi riders seem to have. Overall, it's not much of a costume change, but Ryoma does ride a Kinshi, so his in-game sprite is definitely a sight to see. Regarding Legendary Ryoma's kit, he doesn't seem to offer anything too crazy. However, he does come with some new skills. His weapon is still Raigento, and it's still a 16 might distant counter weapon. I don't think Intelligent Systems is ready to buff DC weapons just yet. Now, there are very little sword flyers in the game already, but Ryoma is the only one to have built-in distant counter, which does count for something. Personally, I do think distant counter can work on flying units, but I dislike that they still have to avoid archers or are forced to run Iota Shield. If Ryoma can get a nice res stat, then he may actually be a cool flyer to run. I'm not expecting more than 30 resistance, but somewhere in the upper 20s would be really nice. As for the rest of Ryoma's kit, his special is Glimmer, which as we've recently talked about, probably means he has a good attack stat. His other old skill is Guidance, which is a mobility ski skill for flyers only to help infantry and army teammates. Now, Guidance is a secret skill as well, but if you wanted the option of running it in the C slot, then your only other option would to have Goten Tana, and since she is a 5-star exclusive unit, it's a pretty tough skill to come by. Nice to see another unit finally getting this skill, even if a lot of players already like it in the Sacred Seal slot instead. Now for Ryoma's 2 new skills. One is his A skill called Kestrel Stance, which is essentially the stance version of Swift Sparrow. It grants +4 attack and speed when initiated on. Now this isn't really bad, but personally only getting speed on enemy phase may not be as worthwhile than just running Fury 3 to get +3 speed for both phases. I'm sure Ryoma will be decently fast, but being able to get extra speed on the player phase may help him out more than only getting it on the enemy phase. That said, distant counter weapons depend on the enemy to attack from range, so if you keep Kestrel Stance, then I think pairing it with distant defense in the Sacred Seal slot is going to be a nice combo. Finally, let's talk about Bushido, which is going to be Legendary Ryoma's unique B skill. The Bushido code, for those unaware, is essentially the code of morals for the Japanese samurai, so it's an appropriate name for Ryoma's unique skill. Bushido comes with one simple effect, and that is that Ryoma will deal +10 flat damage whenever he procs a special. This should be very similar to how Wo Dao and Wrath function. Before continuing on, I want to make it clear that flying units as well as cavalry units cannot inherit the Wrath B skill due to restrictions. So you can argue all you want about whether Bushido is actually a worse version of Wrath, but at the end of the day it doesn't really matter since flyers can't even get that skill. My current feelings about Bushido are mixed. Having the -1 cooldown of Wrath is one part that makes it great, but Ryoma won't have to worry about being under 75% HP for Bushido to activate. I don't think Bushido is terrible, but I worry it may get overshadowed by the usual Vantage, Quick Repose, or Desperation. Overall, I think Legendary Ryoma definitely fails the usual description of all legendary heroes. Solid units, but not really amazing and a must-have or game-breaking. I don't think Kestra's stance is as amazing as Legendary Lin's Speed Tactic or Legendary Ike's Warding Breath skills, so I don't think people are going to be as inclined to pull just for skill inheritance. Even though Bushido is going to be a unique way for flyers to get the +10 extra damage in the beast slot, I would have liked to see something a little more interesting. Unless Ryoma has some odd stat distribution, I don't think Bushido is going to be that amazing compared to its beast slot competition. Maybe I'm wrong, however, and honestly, in a straight 1v1 duel, Bushido plus a low cooldown special like Glimmer will be able to dish out a lot of damage. Maybe keep an eye out for when more people start to use Legendary Ryoma to see how he performs. Okay, so now for the main event, where I'm going to give a quick overview of every one of these heroes, and I'll be doing them in color categories. In the top left, we have our red units, the new Legendary Ryoma, Young Tiki, and Sigurd. To the right is the blue whale units, which include Fjorm, Winter Robin, and Harden. In the bottom left corner is our green units with New Year's Azura, Winter Chrom, and Gunthra, RIP. Last is the colorless squad consisting of Legendary Female Grima, Innis, and New Year's Takumi. If you aren't sure what color is best to summon on, then hopefully this section will help you make a decision. So for this chart, I've laid out all the skills from each unit, and I've labeled them as either rare, good, or uninheritable for those who may not be familiar with every skill. Rare skills are ones that may only be on 1 or 2 units, or it's on a ton of limited time units. Good skills are skills that are at least available on 4-star units or are on a lot of 5-star units who are at least in the permanent pool. If it's not labeled, then it's a skill that is either commonly available or just isn't that great, even if it's rare. For Ryoma, Kestra's stance is completely new and guidance is only on 1 other unit, so both are going to be rare skills to get access to in those slots. Young Tiki is a pretty decent dragon and is much faster than her adult self. She is one of 2 red dragons, meaning it's either her or adult Tiki for that color. Young Tiki has a pretty balanced stat line with everything being pretty average and is a better candidate to run a speed increasing build versus her older self. Unfortunately, I don't think any of Tiki's skills are very great and they are all available on other units out there. I'll talk about Tiki again at the end of the video. Sigurd is a sword cavalier and is one of the tankiest units in the game thanks to some amazing skills. His Divine Tearfang sword reduces the first magic attack he takes by 50% damage, and his Crusader's Ward B skill reduces the second or higher hits by 80% for all ranged attacks. With close defense granting protection in melee fights and speed smoke debuffing enemies after combat, Sigurd is incredibly annoying to have to deal with. If he can survive long enough, he can actually make use of Miracle to stave off death for 1 hit, which means he can get in a final blow instead. Sigurd is a great unit overall, and even if you don't want him, he comes with 2 very rare and powerful skills. Moving on to the blue group, I can just hear the sound of whales in the distance. Fjorm and 2 powerful Lance army units make this group a pretty solid one to be pulling on. Everyone should have Fjorm, but she does come with some really good skills to inherit. The only unit with attack/defense bond and one of the 2 units with shield pulse makes Fjorm insanely good to get for inheritance. Drive attack is also good, but it has been placed on a few permanent units at least. Winter Robin is a pretty good army unit, very fast at 34 speed and does very well in physical melee matchups with his 35 defense. The winter units actually had really good weapons, so I'm gonna say Tannenboom is worth inheriting if you want it. Robin is also the only holder of Brazen Attack and Speed, and Armor March is still only on 1 permanent 5-star unit and 3 limited 5 stars. Winter Robin has some pretty great gifts under his Christmas tree. Last is Harden, who is just a beast. Like Robin, he is a great Lance army unit and sort of follows the tradition of just being a brick wall. With 36 defense and 32 resistance, Harden can take a lot of punishment, and with his Brazen defense/res skill, it only makes him tankier once you do scratch him. Grativis is also a distant countered Lance, and combined with Bold Fighter, Harden is amazing on both phases, a ridiculous unit with more good skills. Personally, summoning for blue will get you the opportunity to get you some insanely good skills for inheriting, and I think it's the best color this time. That being said, I have to say green is a solid group as well. Gunthra has a very unique debuffing playstyle that powers up her Blizzard Tome. While Fortress Res isn't that greatest A skill ever, it's still only on 5-star exclusive units, therefore I'm gonna say it's rare if you want it as an A skill. Res Ploy is also only on 5-star exclusives and goes great with Gunthra's kit anyway. For Winter Chrom, his Sacco Gibbs is a great defensive weapon, and with Wary Fighter he is going to be a tough unit to take down. With one of the highest attack stats in the game, Chrom will dish out a ton of damage in 1 hit, and that can be further improved if he can activate Brazen Attack and Defense, which just makes him tankier. Should be noted that Brazen Attack/Defense can be gotten on Ares, who just got demoted to the 4 to 5-star pool, which means you may not need to go through the trouble of sacrificing a Winter Chrom for that skill. Last is New Year's Azura, who comes to taunt me because she is our other flying dancer. She comes with a good amount of speed, and that's pretty much the best stat to have for your dancer. Her Hagoita plus X weapon is a nice supportive weapon granting +2 defense / res to allies within 2 spaces. She is the only holder of Earth Dance and one of 3 holders of the amazingly rare Honed Flyer skill. Probably the best buff for Flyer Emblem, so Azura will be a great unit to have regardless. Finishing up with colorless, we have legendary female Grima, who is the only colorless dragon and is also a flying dragon. Her Expiration Breath is a strong distant counter weapon, and her Dragon Skin A skill buffs her defenses and protects her from arrows. Cancel Affinity prevents her from getting countered by Raven Tomes, but it's a very niche skill that doesn't really need to be used. Female Grima is also the only holder of Red Smoke currently, so that may be something you want to have. Next is Innis, who I feel like is due soon for a weapon upgrade, I hope. Nidhogg is a bow that has the Owl effect, and his heavy distribution into resistance means Innis can be one of the best archers for tanking magic damage. His attack and speed is also pretty good, meaning he can fill other roles as well. He comes with Fortress Res and Cancel Affinity, which again 2 skills that are okay, but not things I would summon for exclusively. Last is New Year's Takumi, who is actually a pretty solid infantry dagger unit. His Kagami Mochi dagger is the same as Kaze's Barbed Shuriken, and it's essentially a killer / slaying dagger. Takumi can dish out some good damage, and like Innis, has focused his defenses into resistance. His attack / res Bond A skill will help him fight mages better, and Bowbreaker gives him good matchups against archers. I know dagger units aren't insanely popular, but Takumi has one of the best offensive spreads for the group and will be great to have if they ever become better. All in all, I'd have to say blue is very good to summon on with some amazing skills to get and 2 powerful armory units. Red and green are the next best with some good units and some good skills. Colorless is okay, but just doesn't match up with the other colors in terms of strong skills, and their units aren't game changing either. Please do remember that 8% is still only 8%, and it doesn't mean you are guaranteed to get a 5-star unit. Color sniping can lead to some very unlucky streaks of no focus units. Summoning with 20 orbs at once is probably the best way to get a lot of 5 stars, but obviously you may not get what you want. The 2 bridal banners will continue for a while after this, and there is a new heroes banner coming as well. I hope this video helped you decide on whether you want to summon or save your orbs. Now before we end, I do want to mention young Tiki again. She may not have any great skills to inherit, but it's been confirmed that she and adult Tiki will be getting a new unique weapon in the next update in about a week when this event ends. While we know nothing about what this weapon will do, it may be something to consider if you don't have her. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I hope it helped you out. I have some fun videos coming up soon, so be on the lookout for those. They're going to consist a little bit of a common theme because it's something I've been focusing on in my own game. I'll see you guys in the next one.